Hello, welcome to DIY Design by CCW, and thank you so much for clicking on my video. Today I will be doing a DIY for you, and it's one of my favorite things. I'm going to be making over glass pieces with paint and trim, and we're going to see if I can make it into a set. Now this piece, as you can see, includes some thrifted pieces, also a beautiful thrifted vase, one of my favorite things to make over. Now I'm also going to be doing a tray for you today, and I'll be using some paint that I've used before, this beautiful gold color made by Treasure Gold. Here you can see a close-up of that. I'll also be using a new color, and it's this multi-surface satin paint, and it's in a color called Thicket. I absolutely love it. It's a beautiful green shade. Now I have some other items here, such as some crystal knobs, also some other teardrop crystals, and I'm going to be working with a beautiful trim that I picked up at Michael's. It's called this Bead Landing Glass Rhinestone Trim. It's absolutely gorgeous. And again, I'll be working with some other trims and ribbons. Also, as I said, I'll be making a tray, but we'll see how everything turns out and if we like it and if it turns into a set. Now, step one, I'm going to go off camera, clean all of the glass pieces with this alcohol, and then we're going to jump right into today's DIY. Now to start, I'm going to be painting my pieces with the multi-surface satin paint. Now again, this is a beautiful green shade. I recently did some makeovers in my home where I started using shades of green and gold. So I'll be sharing some videos with you. I think there's one already on my other channel where I'm using this shade, and I'll make sure to link a link to that video down in the description box. But so these pieces, typically when I share these videos, sometimes I'm making a gift set for someone, or I'm doing something for myself. Now this piece I'm actually going to use in my own home decor. Now you're going to note, if you're painting glass for the first time, that the first coat, when it goes on, doesn't always go on with the full coverage. I'll share with you that I had to come back and do 3 coats to get this to look the way that I want it. Now the tip is to use a brush that is rated for acrylic. Don't put the paint on too heavy. Expect that first coat to be very translucent, and then after it dries, and you want to let the paint dry at least 2 hours to overnight if you have the time, and then come back and do a second and third coat till you get the look that you want. If you try to overload the paint, you're going to get lots of streaks, and it's just not going to look the way that you want. So here again, you'll see that I'm going to continue on painting all of the pieces, and then once this is done, I'll come back, show you what they look like, and then we're going to go ahead and add the second color, which is going to be the gold paint, because I want this set to be two-toned. So I'm going to stop talking, let you watch me work here, and I'll come back when we get to the next coat, which again will be, or the next color, which will be the gold. So before we move on, I'll just show you quickly how I store my brushes in the paint in between the layers if I have to do multiple layers on a particular color. Okay, so I've done 3 shades or 3 coats rather of paint on all the pieces, and you can see how they turned out. Now I'm going to do the same thing with the gold. Now I will paint the bottoms of each of the pieces, let those coats dry, and in between, like I said, I'm going to do at least 3 coats to get the look that I want, especially with the Treasure Gold paints. Typically the Treasure Gold paints, they're metallic paints, so they go on even thinner than the multi-surface paints. So again, it's going to take 3 coats to get the look that I want. But I wanted to show you what I'm doing here. Now, again, I'll do this, do 3 coats on the bottoms, then flip the pieces over and do the top or the rim of each of the pieces. And again, I'll do this with all of the pieces until I get the look that I want. So again, I'll let you watch me work here, and then I'll come back when we get to another part of the DIY. If you have questions, please feel free to leave those in the comments, and I will try to get to every single one of them. And if you haven't done this before, again, be patient. Expect that when you start, your pieces may not look the way that you want, but as you practice, you'll get better with applying the paint. And always remember to use, like I said earlier, the correct brush, a brush that's rated for acrylic paint. Make sure that you thoroughly clean your pieces before you start. Also, try to keep your brush strokes as even as possible, and whenever possible, you want to go in the same direction. Okay, guys, I'm going to stop talking here, and I'll let you watch me work, and I'll be back when we get to another part of the DIY. All right, so all of the pieces are done. You can see how they turned out. They're two-toned. I'm really happy with the finished result. Now what I want to do is use this Folk Arts Select Seal. You have to be very careful with it. Now, what I'm using is the gloss finish. Now, I used to early on, if you watch some of my early videos, I never sealed the paint. I will tell you that I learned over time that the sealing, even with the multi-surface paint, which says that it will self-seal after 30 days, you're better off sealing. Now you can select different finishes. I'm using the gloss finish. You can use a satin. I believe there's even a matte finish, but the whole purpose is it does protect your pieces. Now, if you're going to be using your pieces outside, or in this case, maybe I'll put these in my bathroom, which I just redid with green, in a green and gold kind of look, or rather color scheme. You want to make sure that your pieces last, that the paint doesn't peel off, that it has some longevity. So I do suggest doing this step. Now, you have to be careful with it because this sealant can also streak a little bit. So you'll note that I am using a couple of different sponge applicators. Now you can get these applicators at Dollar General or a craft store like Michael's. I'm using different sizes. Also, you'll see that what I do is dip one in the sealant, and then I use a dry one to kind of spread the sealant out to make sure that there are no streaks. Now, I'm going to do this for all of the pieces. Once it's done and I know that it's dry, then I'll come back and start, adding some embellishment. Now, with this two-tone look, maybe you do this and you decide you don't want to add in any embellishments. I think it would be fine if you stopped here. Maybe just created some lids for your storage containers. You could probably do that, but I always like to add a little bit of embellishment. So again, once this is done, I'll come back and add some embellishments, and then we'll move on to making the mirror, putting that together, as well as the lids. So I'll let you watch me work here, and I'll be back when we get to the next part of the DIY. Again, don't forget, if you have questions, feel free to leave those down in the comments, and I'll try to get to those and answer any questions that you may have. All right, so my pieces are dry, and I'm now going to start adding some embellishments. Now, I'll be working with a couple of things here, but you'll see that I try to keep a uniform theme for all of the pieces. First, I'm using this gold ribbon, which is really inexpensive. Now, I originally bought this ribbon from Joann Fabrics. They've gone out of business, as most of you know, so I have found comparable ribbon that looks really close to this, and Michael's also found some. I have some in my Amazon shop, so I'll make sure to leave links to where you can get something comparable if you do want to make this set. That's the same with a lot of the trims here. If I originally, or things that I'm using, if I originally bought it from Joann Fabrics, then I have found other sources, and I'm linking that down in the description box. So here you see I'm just applying the gold trim around the top. Now I'm working with E6000 quick hold for the trim. Occasionally when I'm making things, you'll see me use E6000 quick hold, which is my glue of choice. It's a little thinner, it's fat, it sets a little faster, and I find it to be really good when you're working with ribbons and trims like that. Occasionally you'll see me add in a little bit of the regular E6000 if I'm working with like a heavier trim, or, just, where I think that maybe I'll need a little bit of a stronger hold. So again, the design I decided on is I'm going to add the trim to the top and the bottom, and then I'm going to layer on the bead landing glass rhinestone trim. I layered it that way because I thought it gave the bead landing a nicer, like a little bit of a better foundation, and that the trims, the ribbon and the bead landing trim worked really well together. So I'm gonna do something similar for each, of the pieces. Now I'll change it up a little bit when I get, of course, to the square piece, which will be the hand soap or the lotion container, and of course a little bit different when I get to the vase, which I'll do a little bit different as well. So anyway, I'm going to stop talking for a little bit. I'll let me watch, you watch me do this. Again, if you have questions, please feel free to ask, and I'll come back or leave a comment for me in the description box, and I'll come back when we get to another part of the DIY. Also, I have a question for you. Those of you that have been following the channel, you may notice something different. I am showing you two views, one from two different angles, hoping to, give you a little bit more insight into what I'm doing, letting you see things a little bit closer, maybe from one angle and then also from an overhead angle. Let me know if you like this double view or if you'd like me to go back to just a single shot. Love to hear what you think about that. It's the first time I'm doing it in this video. Typically, I show you one view and then occasionally I'll show you the side view. But anyway, let me know what you think and if I should continue to do this double shot for you, and if so, or dual shot for you, and if so, I'll do it for the next video. All right, guys, I'm going to stop talking and I'll be back when we get to another part of the DIY. All right, so now I'm moving on to the hand soap container, or I could use it for lotion. This piece, I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to go with 2 diagonal strips down the middle of the piece, and then I'll do the same thing on the back, so that it looks the same or uniform from the back, and then I'll add some additional embellishment. Again, I did a little bit of a different paint technique with this piece. I decided to do the entire top of the piece in gold just to give it a little more contrast, and I'll add the little the embellishment with the little disc that you saw me use on the other pieces as well. And for those little round discs that I use, I didn't include the footage on that, but basically I took some beads that I had purchased and kind of separated them, and then added little rhinestones to each side. Now, if that's something you want me to show you if you want me to show you how I did that, then I can create a little short or something to show you, but I didn't add it into this footage. Again, I thought the video was long enough, but if you'd like me to add something about that, or if you'd like to see how I created the little gold pieces that I used on the front, or the embellishments that I used on the front, let me know. I'll add a little short, or I may even add it on my one of my little channels where I do lots of shorts. So let me know, and if you think it's important to see how that's made, and I'll again create a little short for you to show how I did that. So again, here you see me adding the strips to both sides of this container. I really like how it turned out, again, so that you see the same thing no matter which view. And then I just added the one little pop that, I like to say I like to add a focus point. I actually just did that on the front of the piece. So again, I'm going to stop talking. I'll be back when we get to another part of the DIY. If you have questions, don't forget to leave me a comment in the down in the comment section. Okay, so now I'm going to work on the vase. I really, really like how the vase turned out. I think it's gorgeous and I can't wait to use it in my home decor. So again, I think I mentioned early on that green and gold are some colors that I'm playing with in my home. I love them because I can add maybe a pop of pink or some other color, and I think it will carry me right into spring. But just really like how everything turned out. So here I'm going to add some ribbon to the bottom of the vase as well as the top, and then you'll see me do something similar to what I did to the hand soap container, where I'm going to add some vertical stripes right down the middle to so that I can have that focal point that I like to add for the vase. But again, really like how it turned out. Love the two-tone look. And we'll see. We'll see how it looks when I use it in my home decor. I'll probably do a tablescape or something with it as well. And I'll make sure to link that on the tablescapes or create a link if I do, so that you can see that on the tablescapes and decor channel. So again, I'm going to stop talking, let you watch me work, and I'll be back when we get to another part of the DIY. All right, so now it's time to put the mirror together. Now, if you're new to the channel, this will be new for you, but those of you that follow me, you've seen me make these trays dozens of times. Guys, these are like probably my favorite thing to make on the channel. I love making pieces and sets and things like that you can use for multiple things in your home. So to start, what I do now, first of all, the mirrors I'm using for this tray, these little oval shaped mirrors, you can find those on eFavorMart. That's where I order them. Now I am an eFavorMart affiliate, so if you use that link, that does help. It does help the channel. I'll leave a link if you'd like to use it down in the description box. Doesn't cost you any more, but it does help the channel where you can order it. But again, you go on eFavorMart and you'll find these mirrors. They come 4 in a pack. They're really affordable. So what you see me doing here is I'm using just regular cake boards. You can get those from any craft store. And I use the number of cake boards that I feel that I'll need in order to get the thickness that I want. So these trays for this tray, I ended up using 2 cake boards. Basically, you see that I traced out the shape, then cut it down to size. Now I'm going to glue the boards together. So basically, I'm going to glue the I'm using E6000 quick hold, by the way, and a little bit of the regular E6000. I'm probably overdoing it on the glue, but I just want to make sure that the tray lasts. Now, once I glue all of these pieces together, then I'll put the top mirror on. Now, I do like to use a mirror on the bottom and a mirror on the top so that my pieces or my trays look a little more finished. That way, if I were to place it on a mirror top, it would look good. It would come out the same. Now here you see I'm going to glue the top mirror on once I get the glue in place, and then I'll be able to go ahead and add the decorative knobs. Now for the decorative knobs, or I should say the legs, basically I'm just using regular dresser drawer knobs. The ones that I have here, you can purchase them in my Amazon shop, or you can find them in Home Goods. Even Home Depot has them, and they're very, affordable. And I just like to repurpose them and use them as knobs. So here you see me just using a ruler to make sure and just kind of marking where I want my knobs to go so that they'll be even. And then once I glue them on, I'll be able to flip the tray over and start adding my decorative trim. All right, for the decorative trim, I'm going to match my pieces by using the ribbon as the base. And that ribbon, I like to use it. I probably didn't have to use it here, but I want to make sure that everything looks uniform and that the cardboard layers aren't showing. And then once I put this trim on, I'll go ahead and add the bead landing trim. Now, I apologize here because I didn't realize until after I filmed this that the mirror was a little bit off center, so you may not be able to see as clearly as I would like you to. And I also don't have the footage that I had for the other parts of the DIY because I didn't film this part from another angle, but hopefully you can see what I'm doing. I'll tell you, I'm just applying 2 layers of glue. I'm adding the regular glue or rather the E6000 quick hold, and I'm mixing a little bit of the regular E6000 too, just to make sure that I really lock this trim down. And then once I do that, I'm going to add a layer on top of that bead landing glass rhinestone trim, just to give the piece a finished look. And there you see me just kind of cleaning the mirror up and making sure that there's no glue on the mirror. Now, once I do that, I'll add a little bit of an embellishment, and just add or extra bit of embellishment, and I'll just add one of those little gold pieces of embellishment that I added to all of the pieces, just so that this will come out and so that this will look like a finished set. But again, I really like how the mirror turned out, and of course you'll see that when we get to the final reveal. All right, so before we get to the final reveal, I want to share with you how I created the lids for this set. Now, if you followed me for a while, then you know I make lids for everything because I like my pieces to be, have more than one purpose. They could be vases, they could be used for storage, etc. So in this case, instead of mirrors, I'm using crystal disc, rather acrylic discs, I'm sorry. And you can order these acrylic discs if you like in my Amazon shop, or just order them from Amazon, and I'll leave a link down in the description box if you'd like to use the Amazon. Order them rather from the Amazon shop. Now I've got two different sizes here, one for each of the cylinders that I'm making the lids for, and I'm getting my glue out here. You'll see that I'm going to use E6000 regular as well as the E6000 quick hold. Now I'll be applying a regular trim instead of the bead landing trim. I'm using just a regular closed chain wrap trim, and again, this trim is available in my Amazon shop. I'll make sure to leave a link to that if you want to order it, or you can order it online. Multiple places do sell it, and I have found it in multiple places. I used to order all of this from Joann Fabrics. I truly miss them. Also, Michaels has this trim. You can order it from Michaels or go in to your local Michaels and pick it up as well. So here you see I'm starting with a thin layer of the regular or the E6000 quick hold, and I'm going to follow that up with the regular E6000 just to make sure that this chain stays in place. Now, I also, at the beginning, you may have noted that I was kind of lifting up the film that comes on the acrylic disc. What I like to do is just make it so that it will be easy to pull off the film. Also, leave the film in place if you're going to add any decorative trim like this until that trim and that glue sets, or rather the glue sets a little bit. Then come back and peel off that decorative trim, or decorative film, or protective film. I can't talk today. But if you don't do that, you may get some glue on this acrylic, and it is very hard to get off. I found that out early on, ruined a couple of sets of, I say a half a dozen acrylic discs before I realized that this is how I had to do it to protect the acrylic disc and also go ahead and glue, the trim on. Now, once I get the glue or the trim glued on, I'll let it set for a little bit. Then I come back, I'll pull off the acrylic trim, at least on one, or the acrylic protective coating or film, and then I will glue on the knobs. I usually leave one side on, glue the knob on, and then once everything's set, I'll come back and pull off the other side. So that's what I'm doing. Now I'll let you watch me finish this up, and then I'll be back when we get to the final reveal. Okay, so before we get to the final reveal, I just want to share with you this last little piece or little thing that I did with the lids. I decided to add these crystal or glass beads, I guess I should call them, to the lids. Now, if you do this, make sure that you add the glue only where the crystal or the glass bead is touching the actual knob, like in the little glass part there. If you do it anywhere else, no matter how small the dab of glue or what you use, whether it be hot glue, bead glue, or etc., if you look, you'll be able to see that, and it'll kind of ruin the look of your piece. So that's the reason I do it this way. Just wanted to share that tip with you, but I really do like how everything turned out. All right, so this is how the mirror turned out. You know what? I like it. I really like how it looked. I'm glad I layered everything and that I added that little bit of an extra embellishment. This is how the piece, all the pieces turned out. They do look like a set, which is what I was hoping for. Now let's take a closer look at the mirror. Close-up view. Again, there you see how that looks. Again, really happy with how that looks. And let's look at the pieces. We'll start with the vase. Again, I really like how the vase turned out. I'm glad I went with the design that I did, but I'd love to hear your thoughts and what you think. There's a look at the tray again with a couple of the pieces on top. Now, I may use this on my dresser. I may put this in my bathroom. I haven't decided, but I know that I'm going to be using these pieces somewhere in the home. There's another look at the lid. Again, really glad I decided to add that extra bit with the crystals. So overall, I'm really happy with how this set turned out, but I'd really love to hear what you think. Would you make this set? Would you use this color? Maybe there's another color that you would try if you did make the set. I could see it in blue and silver or some other color scheme or, color combination. But let me know what you think. If you like the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed, I hope that you'll do that. Now, I like to say at the end of every video, I can't wait to see you, each and every one of you, in the next video. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day or night, and I'll see you again in the next video. Bye-bye.